It says Cooking with Semantic Kernel. And before I begin, I want to give you context. What I'm trying to do here is the semantic kernel is software we can all make with software, but the goal right now is to help everyone understand that once you have the software, then you have to get the user experience right. And making the user experience is very difficult because it's a new kind of experience for users, at least in the US, Canada, Europe. I think China is way ahead on how AI and mobile experiences are. But I think for the US, Canada, Europe, I think that there's a kind of fear of AI. And so what I'm going to talk about is emotions, and emotions in the context of the kind of user experience you want to create. Okay, so let me show you the thing. Let's see over here.
John, your screen not sharing. Okay.
Now I'm sharing it. Yeah. Otherwise, you can watch a video. Okay, all right. So so first off, just some introduction on myself. Who am I? I have 5 daughters, and this daughter makes bread. She's a baker, and I have a dog. This is Kennedy. I like rocks. I like collecting rocks. And my favorite animal is the octopus. And I like taking pictures. This is on the stairs of my house in Boston. I saw this thing. It looks like a kind of island for the octopus. So I like to collect images, and I like to understand the emotional experience of being a person in this technology age. And I have a grandchild now, so it's very exciting for me. So I'm a grandfather. Background, I grew up in a part of the United States, particularly in Seattle. It's called Chinatown. So ironic. So I grew up in a part of Seattle that is actually not a very nice part. In the United States, if there is a Chinatown, it's usually a lower income area. And I grew up, actually the tofu store that I grew up in is gone. Now it's a wonton house, but it was a pretty dirty place. So I grew up around trash cans. So my toys were trash cans in the neighborhood. And that's how I began my life. And so I really think it's really exciting that I get to work with computers today. If it wasn't for this era of my life, I think I wouldn't have figured things out, because my parents bought me a computer in 1984 called the Apple Macintosh. And I went to MIT to work with supercomputers, which now, who cares about a supercomputer? Now it's inside your phone. And I worked on something called the Lisp machine, which was one of the first AI workstations. And this is a long time ago in the 1980s. I was working on artificial intelligence. And in 1989, I used to work with this machine called the connection machine, which was a specially designed computer to do artificial intelligence. It never succeeded, as we know. It was a beautiful machine. Okay, so I went from AI, and then I went into design, and then I designed many things. I designed an ad for Absolute, designed for the Muji brand, designed shoes for Reebok. I went from technology into design. I designed for Google for a while. I designed a clock made out of words. And I was at a place called the MIT Media Lab, where I was a professor there for 15 years. And I did a lot of things. I then got my MBA as a hobby, because it's very important to understand business. And I went into venture capital. I worked in Silicon Valley. as a venture capital partner. And then I went into product management, shipped things with engineerings, and I became a CTO of a company that does physical security. And now I'm here. I work in the office of the CTO, and I'm glad to be here. So what I'm going to walk through for you is something available on LinkedIn, and it is something called UX for AI, Design Practices for AI Developers, because Semantic Kernel, this is the Semantic Kernel t-shirt, by the way. I made this. This says plugins, planners, and personas. So there's 3 P's of Semantic Kernel. Plugins, the AI plugins, the planners that use the plugins, and the personas, which is a much more advanced feature that you can see glimpses of in the chat Copilot sample. But if you step way back, these ideas of AI are very scary to people. It makes them nervous. Let's talk about emotions. Let's talk about the technology that we're building and how to make things actually harder to use, not easier to use. The way we would create UX before, we want to make it easier to use. AI makes it too easy to use. So we have to make it a little harder to use, which doesn't make any sense, but I'll walk you through what that means. Okay, so this moment is the AI moment. This space comes from a famous painting by Edvard Munch. It's called The Scream, and the scream is this frightening moment. And so AI feels like that to many people. But it shouldn't surprise you, because this is called the emotion wheel. There was a famous psychologist who wrote a pretty major paper about emotions and how he defined there are only 6 emotions that people have. And these 6 emotions are fear, surprise. Wait, are you able to see my screen? Hello? Can you see my screen, Kinfi? I want to double check. I can't see you anymore. So, hello? Kinfi, are you out there? Let me pause for a second. I'm sure. Is everyone following me? I don't know.
Yes, we are here.
Yes.
You can hear.
Okay, we're going to keep going. Thank you.
Okay, keep going. Thank you.
Okay. I never know if I'm talking into the ether. Okay. So, 6 emotions. There's fear, surprise, sadness, enjoyment, disgust, and anger. So let's think about that for a second. Fear is bad. Surprise could be bad, could be good, but surprise. Sadness is not very good. Enjoyment is really good. Disgust, not so good. Anger, not so good. So I always find this interesting, because if we look at it, if we were data scientists for a second and think about the math of that, if you look at the proportions, only 1/6 of our emotions are happy. 5/6 are unhappy. It's because being unhappy is how we survive as humans. If we were too happy all the time, we would get eaten by animals. But because we are afraid, we have fear, we have surprise, we notice things, we have disgust, things we don't like, we get angry, gives us energy sometimes. We have sadness. When we have sadness, we have regret. But enjoyment is very rare. So if you're not happy all the time, don't be worried. That means you're surviving. Okay, but in the AI era, AI triggers these 5 other emotions. Anger, will it take my job? Fear, oh my gosh, it could take my job. Surprise, wow, it's so powerful. Disgust, it got the answer wrong. Sadness. I don't know, like, is this going to change my life? Should I be worried? But technologists are very happy. They're loving it, enjoying it. But you have to remember that there are people who, for them, this is scary, it's frightening, it'll make them angry, it'll make them feel not good. Okay, so this is one of my favorite curves. It looks mathematical, but it's not. So the horizontal axis is time, and this is a positive valence and negative valence. So something has happened. Oh, and then it's, oh, interesting. And then, oh, it's shock. And then you're like, oh, I don't know. Is it good? Is it good? No, it's not good. And many people stay down here. They get depressed. Some of them can like, oh, maybe it's okay. And they get back to acceptance. Some people, when something bad happens, they get very excited. It's a very rare kind of person, a super optimist. I think technologists tend to be more optimists, and they get up there like, oh my gosh, AI is amazing. Let's build with it, which is good because we have to build with it. But we have to understand that the people who use it on the other end are still very afraid. So the way to think about it, this is a very quick design lesson, but this has two axes. This is familiarity, high and low. Familiarity. Oh, I've seen that before. Oh, I've never seen that before. Novelty is like, wow, this is brand new. Oh, this is actually very old. So I'm going to draw out the 2x2. Here we go. So this quadrant here is low familiarity, low novelty. So I've never used it before, and it's not very new. This is a boring quadrant, not a good one. Then we move on to this quadrant. This is the quadrant of high familiarity, low novelty. This is like a hammer or your chopsticks or something. It's like, so what? Chopsticks. I've used them all the time. Camera. I use it all the time, But this is good because you know how to use it, but it's also boring. And this person doesn't like surprises, so it's okay. Okay. Now, high novelty, low familiarity is a really good place because high novelty is what technologists love. They love new technology. And they have low familiarity because technologists tend to be very brave. They love confusing, interesting things. But it is this sector that is the most important thing. It is most important to be high familiarity, high novelty. This is the goal of all great designs. It's like, oh, I know how to do it. And wow, it feels new. So this combination, AI, is going to help us be in this quadrant more often. But we have to create good user experiences. So I wrote a book called How to Speak Machine. And the idea was that when we're curious, we get excited. When we're afraid, we get destructive. So when you're curious, you get inventive. That's why you're builders. Builders love to build things. But when people cannot build things, they don't like it. They want to destroy it. So be curious. Invite others to be curious in this AI age. Okay, so inventive. Again, inventive means making things. And if you invent a lot, you are a good designer. And so I wrote a book called Laws of Simplicity in 2005, which laid out 10 laws of simplicity. That was 2005. Nowadays, I think there's only 3 important laws. Law number 7, emotion, that we humans feel things. And when we feel things, remember my wheel? 5 out of 6 feelings are bad feelings. So we have to remember the bad feelings are more common. They have to be able to make more good feelings. The 8th law is law of trust. When you feel good, you trust people. You trust the computer, you trust the experience. And so I think AI doesn't feel good to a lot of people yet. So we have to work on that. And lastly, law 9 is about failure, which is about the fact that whenever we invent or build things, we always fail. That's the basis of Agile, right? So design is about this connecting emotion to create trust and to be courageous. Okay. Not good. Happier. Oh, gotta get lucky. Okay, so here at Microsoft, we talk about the collaborative UX as part of the Copilot Stack. This was from Microsoft Build 2023. Kevin Scott, our Chief Technology Officer and EVP of AI, laid out the Copilot Stack. And what's important is UX is part of the Copilot Stack, and Semantic Kernel sits in the middle of AI orchestration. And I like to think that this phrase here from our design team is very important. Collaborative UX. Collaborative UX means we use this word, the Copilot. What does Copilot mean? It means there's a pilot and there's a Copilot. The pilot is a human and the Copilot is AI. And the pilot and the Copilot are collaborating. They're working together. That's the idea of collaborative UX. Let's go into this deeper. And let's remember, a human pilot collaborates with an AI Copilot. And an AI pilot, an AI Copilot is only as good as the quality of the collaboration. So it really is about the pilot, the human, is responsible for the Copilot. They're collaborating. I'm sure many of you have been on teams. When there's a team where you collaborate, it's a great team. If it's a team where there's no collaboration, it's not a team. There's no pilot and Copilot relationship if it's not collaborative. So, collaborative UX, how do we do it? Well, remember again, Copilot Stack has 5 layers. Very bottom, there's AI infrastructure. That's the GPUs, NPUs that power the models, the infrastructure, the hardware, the metal. Above that is foundation models running on top of our infrastructure. And then there's AI orchestration. That's Semantic Kernel, t-shirt. Above that, we have UX, and we have, ta-da, plugins. Plugins, let me see, we can't see my t-shirt. Plugins in the t-shirt. Plugins, UX, AI orchestration, foundation models, AI infrastructure. Very easy. Copilot Stack. It's a good idea. So Copilot Stack, the responsibility of UX is largely in the developer's hands, because the developer is working with a new kind of technology that does not follow the way computation worked just 3 years ago. It doesn't get the answer right sometimes. That's strange. That would be a bug in the old days. But now, sometimes it's a feature. So again, collaborative UX. Human pilot collaborates with AI Copilot. AI Copilot is only as good as the quality of a collaboration. Okay. Collaborative UX. All right. So we're going to review again, because this is very important. Even if you use Semantic Kernel, you're only using one aspect of it, the AI orchestration, the pink layer. So first off, think of the Copilot Stack like you're building a car. You need UX. You need nice seats, nice leather seats. You need AI orchestration. Semantic kernel is like steering and brakes to the car. You need an energy source, some kind of energy source. That's the foundation models. You need the chassis of the car and wheels. And plugins are the things you buy, like a cup holder or extra computer in your car. I know there's very nice cars in China, but something you add on. So plugins are things you add on. UX is how you feel with it. Orchestration is how you steer. Foundation models are like the gasoline or a battery in an EV. And AI infrastructure is the chassis and wheels. These 5 layers are the Copilot Stack. And when you add them all together, you get something magical. However, different layers are non-deterministic. They have characteristics that are the way these large language models and pre-trained foundation models work. They have noise in them, or you can change the temperature of them. It's a very different kind of thing. AI infrastructure is rock solid. It's regular. It's hardware. It's not magical, basically. Okay. But because of this, the definition of quality is changing. Now, quality is rolling the dice. Before, it was adding numbers together. When you add 8 and 2 together, it's always 10. But with these models, when you add 8 and 2 together, maybe it's 10. It's a very big departure. So when we build products, this is a very old triangle. It's called the, some people call it the iron triangle. There's the quality, speed, and cost. You only get to pick 2, is what they say. Quality and speed. Or quality, like if you eat at a fast food restaurant, you have high speed, low cost, but kind of low quality. You can eat at a nice restaurant, high quality, high cost, but very slow. So the iron triangle, however, changes because the quality axis is different when you're rolling the dice. So I'll say this over and over. Collaborative UX is a new kind of UX. The human is the pilot and the AI is the co-pilot. You collaborate. And if the collaboration is not good, then the AI co-pilot is not going to succeed for the human pilot. So let's think of the 2 models. One model is commanding the computer. Hey, computer, go do this. The computer says, yes, boss, right away. Then there's collaborating. The human says, let's reach for this goal. And the AI co-pilot is, let's do that together. So commanding and collaborating, collaborative UX is the way forward. Just remember, this is commanding the computer to add numbers. And then when you do this, you believe the computer. It's like, wow, it's always right. It's better than me. Like if a number multiply, I saw this human person, this human fastest math person, they can multiply numbers and divide numbers like faster than a calculator. I can't do that. But when we use this kind of computer, we don't question that it's right. It's always right. But we have to remember that we humans can easily fool ourselves once we think it's right. Trust it too much, right? So, for instance, my AI professor at MIT, his name is Joseph Weizenbaum, and he invented the first chatbot in 1966. And when he invented it, he was very worried what happens when many people use this kind of chatbot, because he said what I had not realized is that extremely short exposure to a relatively simple computer program could induce powerful delusional thinking in quite normal people. So what he's saying is that he made this first chatbot. He saw different people use it, and immediately they thought it was a human being or a machine, or it had a soul, or it had a consciousness. And so that's in 1966. And in the 1970s, he wrote many papers about being worried what happens when everyone is chatting with this kind of machine. So, it's like 50 years later, it's happened. And so you have to remember that we're not making sentient robots. It's just computation. We have to make it easier to remove the illusion or the delusion that it is conscious somehow. And we do that by considering the quality, speed, and cost. And quality, remember, is non-deterministic. That's a new kind of quality. Cost is always an issue because you have to pay for tokens. And there's speed. Unfortunately, these models are still a little bit slow. So the way we build better UX in the Copilot Stack is we have to flip upside down how we think of UX. So let's learn the 8 practices, shall we? Okay, so here's 3 practices we're going to go over. The AI notice, suggested prompts, and feedback opportunities. So this is the role of the human. The human says, I should think more critically about this. And this one, the robot should suggest things that it's better at doing. In this case, the human has to weigh in and say what is better or not. We're going to go into this right now. Okay, AI notice. AI notice is this annoying thing that reminds the human being that this is AI generated. It may be wrong, is what that's saying. So many people in design traditionally would hate this because it's not beautiful, it's kind of annoying, but you need it because of what Joseph Weizenbaum said: humans create delusions that it's real or it's right. So we have to help the human collaborate with a copilot. So this message helps collaboration because it reminds a human, you're the boss. AI is the copilot. The AI copilot is saying, boss, I could be wrong. So the AI notice is a very simple idea. It's just it's one React component, right? It's very easy to add. It's very lightweight, but it's a powerful way to improve the UX. Another way to improve UX is through suggested prompts, because the AI cannot do everything. We know it's good at categorization, sentiment analysis, a few other tasks, but it cannot do everything. So it's very important to offer the AI suggestions, because it means that the human pilot doesn't ask the co-pilot to do things it's not very good at. So suggested prompts are a terrific way to make sure that we increase the probability that the user is collaborating well with the co-pilot, because the co-pilot is saying, hey boss, I don't make French food. I don't make German food, but I make Chinese food, or I make Korean food. So boss, I will make bibimbap. That's my AI suggestion. And I know how to make it, boss. So AI suggestion increases the likelihood of a good collaboration where the human pilot isn't disappointed in the co-pilot. Collaborative UX practice number 3, feedback. So, in these systems, we often ask the user for feedback, thumbs up, thumbs down. We know about our RLHF, right? Sort of feedback, reinforcement learning. But we want to get feedback because the Copilot is not as smart as the pilot. So just like anyone who's a leader or a manager of people here, they know that they have to really give feedback to their teams, their team members. So the AI Copilot has to keep asking boss for feedback. How did I do, boss? Did I do good? Did I do bad? I need feedback, boss. So this is an example of a collaborative pattern. I want feedback, boss, is a way to collaborate between the pilot and the co-pilots. Okay. All right. So I want to move to question and answers. And again, I have this entire course is available on LinkedIn Learning. But now that I have you here, I prefer to interact with you IRL. So can I open it for questions?
I don't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, but thanks again for the great presentation you did. And I just hear about the collaborative UI, and then one question in my head is, how do you think of the user manual plays a role in this next generation software? Because it's getting more complex, and it's really hard to tell the users to know what they're supposed to do without the user manual. But then people really hate to read the user manuals. Thanks.
Yeah. Oh, well, I think anyone who develops software or build products today, what is the most important thing that we have learned in a settings panel? Like a settings panel? In a settings panel, I have to find the setting. What do we have discovered the best thing to do is to add search. We add search. So when we add search, we're essentially using a chat pattern to get access to the wider functionality. I think we've just only begun figuring out how to write software on the user experience side with AI. Semantic Kernel is a technology to support the building of the model with the prompts and the plugins and the planners, and it's all very cool technology. But I guess my interest in talking about AI UX is, to your question and to your concerns, well, if this is going to make this more powerful, it's supposed to make it even harder to use. But the experiments that I've been running with Semantic Kernel and building things, and now building more apps. I have an app that I've been building on my other computer over here for a while. I'm optimistic that if we think of how settings panels have gotten so much better with the search of the settings, I think that direction of conversing and having the interface automatically generate makes so much more sense. And also, I want to forget that plugins, once you create plugins in Semantic Kernel, so-called skills, or an OpenAI plugin, you give it to a planner. When you give it to a planner, it feels quite magical because we're so used to doing work. The computer's making us do work. Like, who wants to fill out a form in Microsoft Word? I'm sorry to everyone who loves filling out forms. I don't like to fill out forms, but I got to work so much more because of computers. What if instead I could just give the computer a goal and the computer does the rest? It can do that with the planner. The idea of the planner in Semantic Kernel is I say, what is the outcome? What is the final output? And it can construct the plan based upon finding the right plugins and choosing the right sequence. It's pretty amazing. That's a completely different paradigm that may not require a lot of software interfaces as we know it. It's like a magic genie almost. It sounds too good to be true, but I can say that having developed in Semantic Kernel, I also develop in LangChain or like, plain OpenAI, et cetera, too. It's this is a very exciting time for technology and for user experience. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Next question. Ooh, question.
Hi,
Brave people. Hi.
Hi, Joanne. I'm Rocky. So I read a tweet on the Twitter. So LangChain have a new tool framework, LangSmith. Do you know that? How about different
LangSmith.
Semantic kernel with the LangSmith?
That's great. That is, first of all, I think that LangChain is a terrific tool. LangChain, for those of you who don't know, is available in Python and TypeScript. Semantic Kernel is available in C#, .NET, and Python, and also Java now. What Rocky is talking about is LangSmith allows more testing ability from LangChain chains because Semantic Kernel is essentially an open source way to use Microsoft pieces. There's a new tool that's been developed called PromptFlow. Maybe you've heard of it. PromptFlow allows you to test prompts in a way that is similar to LangSmith. So soon at Ignite, in I guess a few weeks, we're going to demonstrate how Semantic Kernel can communicate with PromptFlow to be able to do some LangSmith-like things. Not only that, I mentioned plugins, planners, and personas. The inventor of Semantic Kernel, Sam Scalace, my boss, he invented Google Docs. He's the deputy CTO. He's been talking about something called semantic telemetry. And semantic telemetry is a way to do that kind of testing like LangSmith, but at a completely different level, where you can construct agents to inspect the quality of not just the prompt, but also the plan. And that is something we're rolling out this year. It's been exciting to sort of see it happen, but it's basically a much more sophisticated way to do testing that really pushes the model to the limits. And by the way, LangSmith is open source. Open source loves open source. And again, I people tell me like, what's our position on LangChain? LangChain's great, but Semantic Kernel is made to be kind of boring. Boring means really good for enterprise. So we have so many 3P customers who love Semantic Kernel because it is architected the Microsoft way, and it's designed for scale and for enterprise. So they are so relieved. Maybe they built a POC in LangChain, but they couldn't deploy it, and they switched to Semantic Kernel. We see this pattern a lot. But I love LangSmith, by the way, and I love what all those people are doing.
I think this is the last question.
Last question.
Maybe we have to continue to communicate the community to the different developers to get their question. If I will get correct some question and give you some feedback, you can give me some answer. I will tell them. Yeah, thank you much.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I say big thanks to you. Hope to see you soon because some China fans said you are online, but maybe you are in person to join. Maybe to host to give the good topic. Yeah. So maybe next time we can see you in China. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.